was sitting in a cafe, drinking my coffee the way I usually do. It was a normal winter afternoon. Nothing poetic about it. People moving quickly, cars passing, doors opening and closing. Just a city doing what cities do. Through the glass in front of me, I noticed an elderly couple walking across the pedestrian bridge. They weren't dramatic. They weren't smiling at each other in some cinematic way. They were simply walking, close, not tightly holding hands, not clinging, but close enough that you could see their bodies adjusting slightly toward one another. The wind was light, just enough to make people pull their coats closer. She leaned slightly toward him. He leaned slightly toward her. It wasn't dependence. It was balance. They moved at a pace slower than everyone else around them. Not because they had to, but because they shared the same rhythm. And there was something about that rhythm that made everything else feel louder. I kept watching. There was no big gesture, no visible romance, just familiarity, the kind that doesn't need to announce itself. They reached the middle of the bridge. He shifted his arm around her back. She didn't react, as if this had happened 1,000 times before, as if this was simply how walking worked for them. And in that quiet moment, something unexpected came to my mind. Not another couple I had seen, but an image. An old illustration I had once come across years ago. 2 elderly people sitting on a bench, back to back, clearly not speaking. Rain falling. The man holding an umbrella, not over himself, over her. And I remember thinking, when I first saw that image, how strange it felt. They looked distant, unresolved, proud, and yet he was still shielding her from the rain. At the time, I thought it was clever, a commentary on love and conflict. But watching the couple on the bridge, I understood something deeper. The umbrella wasn't about apology. It wasn't about reconciliation. It wasn't even about romance. It was about instinct. The kind of instinct that survives years. The couple walking in front of me probably had disagreements, probably had long silences, probably had seasons that weren't warm, but they had built something underneath all that, something steady. Love is often imagined as closeness without friction, but real love isn't frictionless. Real love is resilient. It absorbs disagreement without collapsing into indifference. It allows space without erasing care. The couple on the bridge didn't look like they were proving anything. They weren't performing affection. They were simply moving together. And that movement carried history. The image of the umbrella came back again. 2 people upset, but still, protection remained. And that's when it clicked. Love isn't measured by how you behave when everything feels good. It's measured by what remains when it doesn't. When pride is present. When silence is heavy. When words are withheld. Do you still protect? Do you still show up in the moments that actually matter? Not emotionally dramatic moments, real ones. Sickness, storms, weakness, need. Anyone can hold hands on a sunny day, but not everyone keeps the umbrella tilted when they're hurt. Watching the couple on the bridge, I realized that the balance between them was probably built over years of small umbrellas, moments we never see, arguments followed by quiet protection, disagreements followed by reliability. We tend to romanticize intensity, but longevity is quieter. It looks like adjustment, like subtle leaning, like shared rhythm. It looks like knowing that even if you're not in perfect alignment, you're still fundamentally aligned. The couple kept walking. The wind didn't stop. The world didn't slow down for them, but they had slowed themselves. Together. And suddenly, the umbrella image didn't feel symbolic anymore. It felt realistic. Because real love is not the absence of tension. It's the refusal to withdraw care, even in tension. Maybe especially in tension. I finished my coffee. They were almost out of sight, still moving in that shared rhythm. And I found myself thinking, the real test of love isn't whether you walk side by side. It's whether, in a moment of real need, without asking, that you won't be left alone, even if you're not speaking, even if you're frustrated, even if there's distance. Because love that lasts isn't built on constant harmony. It's built on quiet certainty. The certainty that when the storm becomes real, not metaphorical, real, someone will instinctively raise the umbrella. And maybe that's the simplest definition of true love. Not constant closeness, not perfect understanding, just this. When it truly matters, you already know you'll find them there. If someone asked me what the symbol of love is, I wouldn't say a heart. Hearts are everywhere. On Valentine's cards, in comments, on walls, on screens. They're bright, visible, easy to recognize. But I think love looks more like an umbrella, not because it's romantic, because it's practical. An umbrella doesn't announce itself. It doesn't glow. It doesn't ask for attention. You only notice it when the weather changes. And real love is like that. It isn't proven on sunny days. It isn't measured by symbols. It shows up when something uncomfortable begins. Rain, illness, fear, failure, distance. An umbrella doesn't stop the storm. It doesn't remove the weather. It simply stands between you and it, quietly. Sometimes the person holding it gets wet, and that's the point. Love isn't decoration. It's protection. Not control. Not possession. Protection. A heart is a feeling. An umbrella is a decision. A heart is what you show. An umbrella is what you choose to do. That's why the image stayed with me. Not because it was dramatic, but because it was honest. You can give someone a heart, but you choose to hold the umbrella